And I think people have to get psychologically comfortable that could Bitcoin correct into the mid 70s from where we are right now? I believe that. Yeah, it's possible. Could it go lower than that? I think if it goes lower than that, it's a huge buying opportunity. And I think I would try to figure out ways to buy more. Although I'm loaded to the gills with Bitcoin, I would try to figure out a way to buy more. But I think Bitcoin probably corrects into the mid 70s and probably ends the year in the mid 180s. And you say, well, how the hell is that going to happen? Because that's just what Bitcoin does. You know, it'll clean out all the renters. And there are people out there right now, BlackRock and Fidelity, that are talking to their clients about strategically owning Bitcoin. You mentioned the UAE, they own several hundred million of Bitcoin. You mentioned the state of Wisconsin, several hundred million Bitcoin now.
Buckle up, because Bitcoin is poised to skyrocket. And Anthony Scaramucci is here to explain why in an explosive interview with Bitcoin Magazine. Scaramucci revealed the shocking truth behind Bitcoin's current price dip. And trust us, it's all part of the plan. According to him, Bitcoin's recent price correction to the mid $70,000 range is completely normal. It's actually a golden buying opportunity. That's right, now is the time to load up, as the real surge is just around the corner. Despite already holding a significant amount of Bitcoin, Scaramucci plans to buy even more if prices dip further. Why? Because Bitcoin's natural cycle is playing out as expected, clearing out weaker investors and setting the stage for a massive rally. Get ready for Bitcoin to drop into the $70,000 range, only to explode back to an eye-popping $180,000 by the end of the year. And it's not just retail investors. Big players like BlackRock, Fidelity, and even nations like the United Arab Emirates and Wisconsin are pouring hundreds of millions into Bitcoin, securing their stake in the future. The writing is on the wall. Bitcoin's value is set to surge like never before. The crash? Totally normal. The boom? It's coming, and it's going to be huge. As we bring you highlights from his interview, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more content like this. Enjoy the video.
If you look at Bitcoin and you take a cursory look, and I've got a lot of books here on Bitcoin, you don't understand it. Probably think it's financial blather. You probably think it's a code on the internet that how could that be worth anything? It's not backed by anything. And if you read, there's a woman at Goldman Sachs that writes about it all the time. She's a Bitcoin denier. She hates Bitcoin, and she says it's worth absolutely nothing, and it's backed by absolutely nothing, and so therefore it'll go to zero. It'll eventually trade to zero. And then there's guys like Cliff Asness. He wrote a parable. He said Bitcoin got to 250 and then exploded, and there's still some people that like it. It's trading at 10,000, and this is the year 2030. Now, why am I bringing that up? Because there's a healthy skepticism about Bitcoin in the marketplace, and people that don't really study Bitcoin, they have that feeling about Bitcoin. Now, maybe they're going to be right. I don't know. We'll have to see 10 years from now, 5 years from now. I'm been humbled by life, Alan, and I've been humbled by markets. So I'm not going to talk to you definitively about this. I'm just going to give my analysis and tell you that I put my money where my mouth is. And so what I would say is that doesn't really understand the nature of that asset. And so what that asset is a secure, decentralized, fully distributed, very transparent spreadsheet. It's a very transparent system to move value between people. And by the way, people have to know this, their bank is a spreadsheet. Okay, your money's on the spreadsheet in one account, my money's on the spreadsheet in the other account. If you're the car dealer, the money in my account goes down, the money in your account goes up. What are those things? They're just digits in the bank. We've decided that we're going to trust this instrument, this US dollar. It's a form of technology to transfer value between each other. And why do we do it? We have all these different reasons why we do it. Okay, but what if you could create a trustless system? What if you could create a system where you don't have to rely on the government, but there's a network, and so a result of which there's hundreds of thousands of people So you don't have to trust any one person. And the system is truly transferable, unhackable. It is completely secure. And then it ticks off all the elements that we've used to have money in our society: immutability, scarcity, trust in the technology. And when you look at it from that perspective, okay, it has value. The network itself has value. And if you look at it from that perspective, is it any different from gold? Gold is a bar of gold. Yeah, it's metallic. Some people will argue it has some manufacturing value. It has value for jewelry. Is that 5 or 10% of the value of gold? No, gold is valuable because we all perceive it to be valuable. We trust that other people will perceive this to be valuable, and so that we'll be able to use this to have value between each other. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes total sense.
And so when you do the homework, Stan Druckenmiller, Ray Dalio, Paul Tudor Jones, Michael Novogratz, Pete Grieger, Michael Saylor, you pick the person. Neil Ferguson, who wrote the legendary book, The Ascent of Money, is a historian about money and about what we use money for in our society. If you do the homework and you look at it, all of a sudden you're like, okay, that is money. Okay. And then will it be adopted by the society? As Satoshi said, will it catch on? You may want to buy some, it may catch on. And then you have this younger generation of people that understand the digital world, and then it starts to catch on. And now you're looking at adoption rates. And, so where are we? If it's Web 1, we're like in the year 2000. Imagine the growth between 2000 and 2025. And then let's be, Michael Saylor will be mad at me. Let's be the Bitcoin is gold theorist. Michael says it's digital property. Michael says it's an operating system. It's a new software for money and the cycles of money and the transactions of money. It's a cheaper, easier, and it's immutable. The government can't corrupt it by adding to it. And so therefore it becomes even more valuable. But let's just say that it's gold. Okay, let's say that it's a form of digital gold. And by the way, it's easier to store and it's easier to move around than gold, is it not?
Absolutely. I mean,
okay,
you don't
and
need
so
to,
and so now all of a sudden it may be better than gold, but let's say it's just gold. Okay, and so as it's adapting, it's going to go through volatility curves. Amazon did that, Microsoft did that, Apple Computer did that. Pick the companies. And so this is now being adopted and married up against the people like me and Saylor and the guys that like it. There is a chant out there of people that don't like it. It could be Warren Buffett. It could be the woman that runs Goldman Sachs's asset management investment research. It could be a whole host of people, and they're going to chant against it. And so that creates this uncertainty. It creates the cycle. And if you look at it from that point of view, there's an adoption curve, and that adoption curve should come with high volatility. But if we're right, the volatility will be volatility upward. It won't be volatility. It won't trade to zero.
Forget everything you've heard. This isn't just another passing trend or bubble ready to burst. Bitcoin's next move is going to leave Wall Street speechless and shake global economies like an earthquake. If you're not paying attention, you'll miss out on the most insane financial shift in history. We're talking about a massive tsunami heading straight for traditional financial systems. And here's the most jaw-dropping part. Bitcoin's price is set to skyrocket. Despite the current dip, it's just the calm before the storm, the perfect setup for the biggest bull run the world has ever seen. You'll regret not jumping in when Bitcoin reaches new all-time highs, possibly even surpassing gold in value. According to Scaramucci, this isn't just speculation, it's coming. And if you're not ready, you'll get swept away in the flood. Let's dive into more clips from Anthony Scaramucci's insights and see exactly what's on the horizon.
I think Bitcoin was at 68, 69,000 when Trump got into office. It shot up to 108,000. That was probably an overshoot. If you told me Bitcoin was at 69,000 and it was 78,000 4 months into Trump's term with all these pro-Bitcoiners in Washington. I said, well, that's a really nice, handsome move. But the fact it went to 108 on its way to 78, no bueno. And I think people have to get psychologically comfortable that could Bitcoin correct into the mid-70s from where we are right now? I believe that. Yeah, it's possible. Could it go lower than that? I think if it goes lower than that, it's a huge buying opportunity. And I think I would try to figure out ways to buy more. Although I'm loaded to the gills with Bitcoin, I would try to figure out a way to buy more. But I think Bitcoin probably corrects into the mid-70s and probably ends the year in the mid-180s. And you say, well, how the hell is that going to happen? Because that's just what Bitcoin does. It'll clean out all the renters. And there are people out there right now at BlackRock and Fidelity that are talking to their clients about strategically owning Bitcoin. You mentioned the UAE. They own several hundred million of Bitcoin. You mentioned the state of Wisconsin, several hundred million Bitcoin now. Incrementally, people are buying Bitcoin. As they incrementally buy the Bitcoin, it'll be very, very positive for Bitcoin's price activity. And that's not to say that there won't be price movements like this. There's things going on that we've just experienced. The biggest hack, $1.5 billion was hacked at a Bybit by the North Koreans. Terrible hack. They're going to survive it, thank God. And they've got a lot of friends in the industry that have helped them and backed them up. But that causes a crisis of confidence when things like that happen. And so go back to prior hacks, look at Bitcoin price activity, and you'll see that what I'm saying is more or less true. So I think we bottom in the mid-70s, but we close the year in the mid-180s. The whole world could be changing, but I think the likelihood of what I'll be speaking about is the stablecoin legislation and why that's so good for Bitcoin and why that will feed the Bitcoin ecosystem. I think we'll have more definition about what that's going to be, and I can help people think about it from an analytical perspective. I think that if we're going towards a strategic Bitcoin reserve by that time, and I'm not saying we will because it's not enough time, but let's say that we are, I think we can talk about the implications of that. And I also think that that would be a big setup for, it'd be a race. There'd be an arms race. There'd be a Bitcoin arms race. You're not going to let the United States own the Bitcoin network. You're not going to let Michael Saylor and the United States own the Bitcoin network. You're going to be in there and you're going to buy a piece of that network and want to be a part of it. We'll have to see what happens, but you could be in a situation, let's talk positively for a moment. You could be in a situation where, God willing, we'll have a war ended. God willing, we'll have some resolution of what's going on in Gaza. And all of a sudden you're in a situation where risk premiums come down in the market because there's less global macroeconomic uncertainty. I think that would also be very good for Bitcoin. But Bitcoin's a cycle. Bitcoin goes through a cycle. Anybody that's buying Bitcoin that thinks it's just an asymmetric bet short term is wrong. I think if they step back, they can realize that it is an asymmetric bet longer term, because I do think it gets adopted and trades to the valuation at or near, possibly better than gold, but it's not going to happen overnight.
Forget everything you've heard about Bitcoin being a fleeting trend. Anthony Scaramucci just dropped a truth bomb. He revealed that Bitcoin soared from around $68,000 to an eye-popping $11,800 during Trump's administration, which he believes was a massive jump too quickly. But here's the thing. Scaramucci isn't scared. He argues that gradual incremental purchases of Bitcoin are exactly what the market needs to stay on track. It's not about catching the big wave. It's about riding the steady tide that's building beneath us. You might be thinking, what about the crazy price swings? Well, buckle up, because Scaramucci expects more volatility. The market is unpredictable, with a recent $1.5 billion cyber attack causing chaos and making investors jittery. But Scaramucci stays calm, saying these dips are simply part of Bitcoin's natural chaos. It's all about the long game. Now here's where things get wild. Scaramucci believes Bitcoin's price hit rock bottom in the mid-7,000s. But here's the kicker. He thinks Bitcoin will triple its value by December. And this isn't just a guess. Scaramucci points to stablecoin regulation as a game changer that will supercharge Bitcoin's ecosystem, making it even more attractive to investors. But that's not all. He's predicting a full-scale Bitcoin arms race. where countries will compete for dominance in the Bitcoin network, locking in huge portions of the cryptocurrency and driving its value sky high. Here's the real shocker. Anyone still thinking of Bitcoin as a short-term play is way off base. Scaramucci makes it clear. Bitcoin is here for the long haul, and it's about to become a household name. This isn't some quick pump-and-dump scheme. No, Bitcoin is evolving into something far bigger. Imagine this. Bitcoin could one day surpass gold in value, with an adoption rate that makes traditional assets look outdated. Scaramucci sees Bitcoin as the future of finance, and he's not alone. Major players like BlackRock and Fidelity are already hopping on the Bitcoin train, and even sovereign nations are starting to see it as the new gold. This isn't just hype, it's a full-on revolution, and Bitcoin is leading the charge. Now the real question is, will Bitcoin eventually reach a valuation comparable to or even surpass gold? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, share this video, and don't forget to hit that like button. Thanks for watching, and make sure to subscribe for more.